Hey everybody, it's Excelsior and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be all about the DayZ standalone's performance running on the PlayStation 5. I know your time is precious, so I'll stay on track and try to cover as much info as possible. I've gotten this question a lot, especially when people are looking to compare the PlayStation 4 or the PlayStation 4 Pro console to the PlayStation 5. As many of you know, the PlayStation 4 doesn't exactly have the best track record when playing this game, especially in certain situations, like cities, PvP, high-pop servers, and more, which we will explore more in depth in this video. All the gameplay footage you'll see was recorded natively on the PlayStation 5 at 1080p without the use of a capture card. It was also on high-pop and high-loot servers that included base building, traders, and other features which typically bog down performance on the PlayStation 4, just so you can see the PlayStation 5 at its best. So let's jump right into it. To address the elephant in the room, the PlayStation 5 does not support 60 frames per second. It is locked to just 30 FPS, similar to the PlayStation 4 and unlike the Xbox Series X, which runs the game at 60 frames per second. This is not because the console can't handle it, rather it is due to how the game is developed and ported from the PlayStation 4 to the PlayStation 5. The main difference between the two being that the PlayStation 5 runs it at an extremely consistent 30 frames per second and suffers far fewer graphical issues, dropped frames, and screen tears, even in the most graphically demanding situations. That's not to say it's perfect, far from it, but the only real graphical issues I've really noticed are on the engine side and are just the standard bugs in DayZ that all platforms are going to experience. In the simplest terms, the Xbox version was designed so they could simply flip the switch and allow the game to render at 60 frames per second when compared to the previous gen console. The PlayStation 5 instead is limited to the fact that it's running the PlayStation 4 Pro's version of the game, which is capped at just 30 frames per second, and require a much more extensive process to get it working at 60 frames per second on the PS5. The hardware itself is more than capable of doing so, and the developers have expressed the possibility for it to be upgraded later, but there's nothing definitive either way at this point in time. Now that we've got that unfortunate news out of the way, let's take a look at how the game is performing in big cities, dense woodlands, marshes, and by the ocean. If you've been watching the gameplay, which I hope is the case, you'll have seen both Electro and Cherno. To save on time, I just did a quick run through of each town, but the performance inside of the buildings and in other areas in the cities matches what you'll see in the clips. The only issues are if you log directly in town, which will take a couple of seconds for everything to render, or weaving through buildings, which might also cause minor delays with the rendering. Similar to the cities, the woodland runs great the vast majority of the time. Again, occasionally, the DayZ engine rears its ugly face and causes some unexpected issues, but this isn't nearly as frequent as it is on the PlayStation 4 version or even the PlayStation 4 Pro version. Everything loads without any real sort of delay, and the experience is much more enjoyable than before, even in the woods surrounding towns, cities, oceans, or other areas that are usually prone to stuttering. The clip you see was taken by Svetlo as a frame of reference. With that out of the way, there's not really much else to say about marshlands, except they run without any real issue either. This is included just to cover the bases on the different terrains, but overall you can expect the same great performance as you can in the cities and woodlands. To cover the final terrain, you'll see the ocean in this clip. Although it's not quite as bad as the cities on the PS4, it can cause some graphical bugs or stuttering depending on how it wants to render. The clip you see was taken right outside of Cherno, so it includes a little bit of the city rendering from a distance as well for performance. Now we'll get into the topic that everyone loves to hate on the PS4, being driving a car, high density mobs, and shooting guns. First up is driving cars. Surprisingly, the experience is very smooth overall compared to the PlayStation 4. I've included two clips from a couple of my expeditions, but they're a good representation of how the cars typically handle overall on the PlayStation 5. Gone are the days of dreading going over 60 kilometers an hour, and here are the days of going pedal to the metal and topping it out. I've topped out several cars and stayed perfectly on the road, except for when my terrible driving kicks in and I sabotage myself. In the first clip, as mentioned before, I'm on a full server, full loot, and driving as fast as I can through downtown Electro. The second clip is trimmed down. It shows me driving out of Cherno as fast as I can, going over a bridge, before I inevitably slam into a guardrail, which was cut out because, well, I can be a bit reckless with cars in DayZ. It's able to render everything from a distance and largely avoids the lag spike issue that causes cars to careen off the road unexpectedly, a rubber band out of place, and cause an accident that could have been avoidable. I'd be lying if I didn't say that sometimes the cars do bug out, but again, this can be chalked up to the game itself and not the console that it's being played on. If you've ever driven a car in DayZ, you'll know it can be a little hard to control at times. But at least on the PlayStation 5, you can mostly remove the unpredictability from the equation. That being said, you'll still need to be careful. You'll still need to be on the lookout for any sort of object in the road or other issues, especially as you increase speed to avoid any unavoidable issues. Finally, and some might argue most importantly, comes the PvP and shooting experience. I can happily say that you no longer drop to under 10 frames when firing any weapon, even weapons on full auto, with extended mags, or on a deathmatch server, where everyone and their mother is firing as many rounds as their little pockets can hold. This includes firing weapons in full auto in densities like Cherno and Electro, as well as within buildings or out in the countryside. I've included a couple of clips from various scenarios that you might find yourself in just to see how it handles them. Overall, I haven't noticed any severe performance decrease in PvP or PvE situations involving gunplay. Just for giggles, I tried to round up as many zombies as I could find to see how it would be handled, and there weren't any real issues there either. I've got a short clip of nothing but PvP gunplay if you're interested to see more dedicated clips. A couple of other clips that you see in this video were actually taken from it because they're a good indicator of performance, and I felt that they did complement the PS5 in this regard. One final note, and something I've been asked a couple of times in relation to performance, is if you can change the storage to something faster, like you were able to on the PlayStation 4. The answer, in short, is no. The PS5 comes standard with a solid-state drive and actually does have an additional expansion slot, but it's disabled out of the box. This means it's likely that at some point it will be unlocked, but all this will do is add storage space and not likely increase the actual performance. With all that being said, I really hope you enjoyed, and that this has been helpful in some way, and that it's answered whatever burning questions you had. If you stuck around this far and found this helpful, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I upload a lot of PS5 DayZ videos, and it helps the channel grow and lets me know that you guys like it. Let me know in the comments below if there are any other videos that you'd like to see, or if you have any other questions that you'd like answered that weren't already included. As always, hope you enjoyed, and hope to see you guys in the next one. Enjoy the rest of the video.